Good morning. My name is Abel, and I'll be discussing transaction and coordination, the process of managing all the forms that need to be completed during a real estate sale. So to start with, let's discuss the agent's and transaction coordinator's responsibility. So for the agents, there are two, buyer's agent and the seller's agent or listing agent. For the buyer's agent, he or she will be responsible for searching for properties for his or her client, writing an offer on desired homes, accepting and making counter offers, and signing all contracts and forms from the seller's agent. For the seller's agent, he or she is responsible for marketing or listing the property, accepting offers and making counter offers on clients' homes, and initiating all the final paperwork. So the person who is in charge of transaction coordinator for a given property is called the transaction coordinator. Moving to the next slide. Finalizing a contract. So we'll be discussing the process for receiving, presenting, and negotiating the real estate contract of sale or purchase offer. So we start by presenting the offer. So the client will require the listing agent or the seller agent to submit their offers using one of the following methods: fax with a cover letter, email as an attached document, or a client's internet-based tracking system with direct input or as an attached document. But the most commonly used one is overnight delivery service provided by a commercial carrier. Please note that the listing agent is responsible for negotiating the best possible offer on behalf of the client. Next is financing the REO purchase. So there are several ways of purchasing or completing the transaction. One is through cash, but this is not the most common way. Also, if they are to purchase using cash basis, they need proof of funds, normally a letter from the buyer's financial institution stating their capability. The most common one is through mortgage, wherein a buyer must have a pre-qualification letter, which is written on a lender's company letterhead, dated and outlines a time which the lender honors the terms. This is normally 30 days from date of issuance. The letter should also be addressed to the applicant and list the property value and amount of funds available for a loan. It should also be signed by a mortgage loan officer, including his or her contact information, normally for verification purposes. Now moving on. Next is contracts with contingency. So any contract or any condition in the offer to purchase that allows the buyer to cancel the offer. Most common examples are condition that require approval of the terms of the contract by another party, and condition to hold on to the REO until the spouse view the property. So basically, this just suggests that, or these are clauses that allows the offer to be canceled in the event of certain situations. After contracts with contingency, we'll be moving to contract addenda. In contract addenda, REO is a unique sale, so the client normally requires special documents or requirements, and these special documents or requirements, they become addenda. A client may consider an offer without the attached addenda, but can only make a final acceptance after signing the addenda. Examples of these addenda are condition that requires approval of the terms of the contract by another party, or, similar to the earlier one, condition to hold the REO until the spouse views the property. Next is REO Offer Management System, or OMS. Since a lot of transactions are REO, they need a comprehensive management system. So these OMS basically are the database for most of the REO offers that are made. So they track the status of each offer. This may normally be either internet-based or an internal software that is hosted or served by a company or entity. So the listing agent notes concessions in the OMS, and just to clarify, concessions are special requests like repairs, shouldering closing costs, or warranty protection plans. So after that, negotiating a contract. In most cases, the client, through the listing agent or seller agent, negotiate using the OMS or telephone. This is done with the assistance of an asset manager. Once negotiations are done, a final written contract would then be written with all the addenda, and this will be sent to the buyer. Throughout this process, the listing agent is the sole point of contact with the client. After negotiating a contract, definitely will go to closing. So, contract ratification. The listing agent does not have authority to execute the contract on behalf of the customer. They do represent the customer, but they cannot decide in the stead of the customer. The listing agent submits the complete contract package to the client within 24 to 48 hours after the buyer signs all the documents. This is normally sent through an overnight delivery service. The client then ratifies the contract with its signature and returns the document to the listing agent for distribution to the buyer's agent and to the buyer themselves. So since we've finished everything up until the signing and contract ratification, next stage will be closing the transaction. So starting with transaction closing, we'll discuss those involved in the process, starting with the closing manager. So a closing manager is assigned by the receiving closing agent to prepare and execute all paperwork on behalf of the client. Normally, these are the people in the escrow companies. So things that are needed, of course, the earnest money, a certain amount given in advance, which is considered as good faith deposit, serves as compensation for the failure of sale and lost marketing time in the event that the sale would not push through, as well as applied to the buyer's down payment and settlement costs. Contract to close dates, just so that you are aware, cash transactions are processed in 15 days, buyers with mortgage 30 days, buyers with the renovation mortgage 45 days. A per diem may be paid for every day that the contract is delayed, this exceeding the days mentioned. Now the listing agent's tasks for the duration up until closing would be the weekly property inspection, reports damage or vandalism to the closing manager, arranges for the disconnection of utilities, submits all final bills within 21 days after closing. All listing agents' reimbursement should include evidence of payment and should be forwarded. On property inspections, all inspections must adhere to the terms of the contract and the addenda. Professional inspection report may indicate repairs and must be completed prior to the closing. Also, the buyer's lender may also require a property repair in order to approve the loan. Final billing instructions are given to the listing agent by the closing manager. They must obtain bids from licensed, bonded, and insured contractors, submit the bids with repair recommendation, receive client approval and instructions before work begins, monitor the progress of the work and provide before, during, and after photographs, receive lien waivers and itemize invoices from the contractors, confirm the completed work is up to the client's standards for quality, and finally, submit an expense reimbursement request with evidence that the listing agent paid for the repairs. Now, once final billing has been made, closing reconciliation. The listing agent works closely with the closing agent to ensure the closing occurs on the scheduled date. Also, on the closing date, all cash buyers must bring certified funds to pay for the property or through wire transfer with the coordination with the closing agent. However, for mortgages, the lender either provides a certified check or wired funds to prove or as proof of payment. Now, there are several transaction closing forms, and in this part we will be discussing those. So the forms that are done or are forwarded or must be included while closing or during transaction closing are buyer's inspection advisory, confirmation of real estate agent relationships, disclosure regarding real estate relationship, normally one for the buyer and one for the seller, agent's visual inspection disclosure. It's a report wherein they disclose any items that they deem not fit or fit during actual inspection. A disclosure, a lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazards disclosure. Real estate transfer disclosure statement. Other forms are market conditions advisory, statewide buyer and seller advisory, seller property questionnaire, water heater and smoke detector statement of compliance, statement of compliance seller's affidavit of non-foreign status, and of course the contract addendum. So all of this must be included for as paperwork for the transaction to be closed. These are all handled both by the buyer's agent as well as the seller's agent and forwarded to the asset manager. Thank you for listening. Again, this is Abel and hope you have a great day.